Hey friends, this episode is personal one, and honestly, it's a conversation I wish someone had with me a long time ago. We are talking about the importance of asking questions, real ones, and while we still have the chance. I've been thinking a lot lately about what gets lost when we don't ask. The stories, the truth, the connection, and how much of who we are is shaped by the answers we never got. In this episode, I'm going to share some powerful lessons that came up for me while watching Coco. Yep, that animated film that had me crying in the theater when it came out, and Surface, an Apple TV show that reminded me what happens when we start asking, even without all the information. These stories are reminders of what's at stake when we stay silent, and how reclaiming your family's truth starts with curiosity. So, whether you've been meaning to ask, waiting for the right moment, or feeling like it's too late, this episode is for you.
When was the last time that you slowed down long enough to ask yourself, where did I come from? What am I carrying? And what do I want to pass on? Hey, I'm Jasmine, your host, self-mastery coach, photographer, and a lover of deep, meaningful conversations. And this is the DCHP Lounge. Each week, we hold space for real stories, soulful reflections, and intentional dialogue to help you discover your roots, connect with what matters most, heal the parts of you that you need, and protect the legacy you are here to leave behind. Because healing your story isn't just personal, it's generational. So grab your journal and let's get deep together.
Hey friends, happy Tuesday. Hope you guys had a phenomenal day yesterday, depending on what time you're listening to this. I'm up pretty late because I've had a lot on my mind, and I thought this is a really great episode to talk about after like the foundational four, because I think a lot of my inspiration has stemmed from not only my own life and journey, but some things that, we watch and see, and stories of friends and things like that I'm just like, oh man, this is relatable to a lot of people. So today's episode is all about asking questions, specifically asking questions about families and our histories and their stories, their truth, their struggles, their joy, their pain, their trauma, like all of the things. So many of us are walking around with missing pieces, and not because we're not curious, but because we were never told, or that we didn't know what to ask. There is also the fact that maybe we waited and the person that we wanted to ask is no longer here with us. And when we don't ask, well, we don't just miss the stories, we miss a piece of ourselves, because who we are is so deeply connected to where we come from. So today we're going to talk about what it really means to ask while you can, and I'm going to take you on a journey through two powerful stories that really lit this fire in me outside of my own journey, and that's the movie Coco. And if you guys are on Apple TV, I'm going to talk about the show Surface as well, because these two, listen, they say it all. Let's start with Coco. If you have not watched this movie yet, I suggest you go watch it and turn this off, because I'm totally going to tell you what happens. There's really no way to talk about this without actually telling you the movie. So lots of spoiler alerts in this episode, and I apologize in advance, but press pause. The good thing is you can always come back to this episode. Go watch it. It should be like on Disney or Pixar or wherever is streaming right now. But yeah, go find Coco. It's such a good story. If you have seen it, then you already know that this show is not just about music or the holiday. It's about family. I mean, that's how I took it. I know that when this came out, it was very exciting for the culture. And I loved that. But I do think there was a hidden message, and it was all about family and how silence can literally shape generations. So let's talk about it, okay? So there's Miguel, and he is the little boy and main character of the movie. He grows up thinking about music and how it's forbidden in his family. He was told that he has to make shoes like all of the rest of the generations above him, that music is shameful, it destroyed their family, and it is just not allowed. But why? Because no one asked real questions. No one challenged the narrative, outside of Miguel, of course. They just accepted that, great great grandma Mama Imelda was hurt, and now music is the enemy. Literally the enemy. And the wild part, Mama Imelda, the one who banned the music, can actually sing. And yet, because of all of her pain, no one else in the family was allowed to follow that passion. And here's what got me the most. It turns out, again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this, but it turns out that the man she thought abandoned her this whole time didn't. He was murdered. He never even got the chance to come home. But she doesn't know because she didn't ask. And clearly, for the movie, nobody else did. But he did try to come home, and then he was killed. So can you imagine an entire family is cut off from their passion based off of a misunderstanding? And a misunderstanding that lasted for generations because no one asked. And every time I watch that movie, by the way, it's my favorite movie. I cry at the end every single time. And I know you guys know what part. Like, soon as he starts singing to Mama Coco, forget it. I'm bawling. But I just felt like this is something that's relatable because if you saw the movie, you can relate to what I'm saying, right? And that right there, just that whole movie is such a huge example of what silence can cost us in our own families and the legacies. And I think about my family, and there's so many things I know I don't know. And I know what it's cost us. And it hurts. It hurts because no matter what you're doing to be different and change the cycles, sometimes those unspoken things, and sometimes we won't ever get the answer, it's like, it's just the cause of it all, And if you don't know what the cause is, you can't really fix it. But also, everyone else has to want to fix it too. So, anyways, that's my friends laugh because they're like, you got really deep on a little kid's show. And I'm like, number one, that is not a kid's movie. I think it's a family movie. But also, there's so much more. I can go on and on about that movie. But anyways, to me, it's important because Miguel literally was miserable, and we don't know how many generations in between Miguel and Mommy Melda that they were miserable because no one asked. Like, the ending was beautiful, by the way. Let's just say that. But anyways, okay. So now let's talk about Surface. If you have not watched this, pause this now. I am talking about it, period. Especially because I just finished the season finale. And I was like, I will stay up all night to talk about this because my mind is blown. But this story specifically, it is a show that is currently on Apple TV. And in this show, it's the opposite of Miguel. In a way, like Miguel is seeking these answers in the entire movie, but purely because he wanted permission to be himself. And that's why he was seeking. He was seeking that permission from, his elder that he thought would relate to him. And with this show just had me in a chokehold, y'all, like in the best way, though. The main character, Sophie, let me not go on a tangent. Sophie, she wakes up after a traumatic incident and she has no memory of like her past. None. And even without her memory, as the show progresses, you see that she still feels that something isn't right. And so what she does is she starts asking questions, which is what this show was all about today. She starts asking questions. And she even knew, like, I'm going to be careful with who I'm asking because I don't know. I don't even know anybody. Like, I don't know what's going on. These people can be my enemies and they cannot be, but something inside of her needed to know more. Everyone around her, her friends, her husband, they're just like, let it go. Let's move forward. You don't need to know. You're safe now. But here's the thing, Sophie just refuses. And because something deep inside of her knew, this life I'm in, it doesn't match what I'm feeling inside. There's this calling. And I think that's the part that hit me so hard, is that even without the facts, like even without her memories, she followed her intuition and she trusted the part of her that said, keep going, keep asking, and look deeper. And what she finds all the way into season 2, and I'm not going to spoil all of it, but let's just say it changes everything. Literally everything. Her relationships, her sense of self, her future. And all of it started because she did not stop asking. And that's really what this is about. Because this is like literally the season finale, I'm not even going to kill the ending. Like, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. So I will just move on. But it is such a good show. And if you haven't watched it yet and you are listening, like, once you do watch it, you'll know what I mean. Like, I think it's so crazy how our minds and our bodies and our behaviors all are connected. So, what do these stories have in common? Well, they show us that when we don't ask questions, we inherit silence, we inherit misunderstanding, and we inherit someone else's pain, and we carry it like it's the truth. And what I've learned, both from my own life and from the families that I work with, and just relationships and friendships, is that not asking does not protect you. Let me say that again. Not asking questions does not protect you. It just delays the pain. Or worse, it passes on to the next generation. I also know that sometimes we think we're respecting our elders by not asking questions because they're not that talkative, right? Or we think that they are not ready for the answers to be shared. But every moment that we wait, that window that you have closes just a little more. Asking questions, in my opinion, is not disrespectful. It's honoring. And it's saying, hey, your story matters to me. I want to know. And I want to carry it forward the right way. And sometimes I think that, especially with our elders and different cultures, like, they just don't want to talk about things because they've been through some stuff. And for me, when I did start asking in my journey and with my grandmother and my mother, like, it was just like, hey, I want to get to know you. I'm not even here to judge you. Like, I truly want to know who you were before you became like a parent or my grandma or, whatever. Like, who were you before all of this? I want to know all of the things. I want to know, what was your first love like? What was your first heartbreak like? What's the funnest thing you ever done in your life? What's the bravest thing you've ever done in your life? It doesn't necessarily need to be the hard questions first, because I think when you come at somebody like that, it feels very like, why are you coming for me? And so instead, ask about their life. I've done this even with complete strangers, you guys, and man, the stories are incredible. I love hearing about people's lives because it's wisdom being shared with you. It's lessons that have been taught and learned, and they can share that with you. So for me, this journey really started when I experienced big loss. And when people in my family passed, and I realized that I had so many things that, okay, so I want to talk a little more about my journey. And for me, it really started when I experienced a big loss in my family. At the time, my family was really small and we were really close in a sense. There weren't many of us. So When we experienced that loss, it just felt like half our family was gone, And it made me realize that I had so many things that I wish I had asked. I wanted to know their stories, the why behind the way we lived, and why we didn't talk about certain things, and what was the truth. It wasn't just about getting answers, it was about understanding not only them, but myself. Because when you grow up in a family with silences and missing names, with wounds that are not talked about, you start to fill in the blanks. And usually those blanks are filled with negative beliefs, with fear, shame, or confusion. But when you ask, even if it's hard, even if it's messy, you get to start to put the pieces together. And what comes from that is so powerful. It's so incredibly healing. It's clarity. And it's the ability to finally say, like, now I know what I want to pass on. And now I know what stops with me. Awareness is a huge part of this. And you'll probably hear me mention this like all the time, because I know I've already mentioned it before, but I do believe it's true that awareness, you can't be unaware once you've been made aware. And now you get to do what you want to do with that. You get to make your own choices and decisions based off of that awareness. But sometimes when we're making decisions and we're not aware, it's like a whole different perspective, right? If no one's said it to you before, I want to say it to you guys right now. First, thank you for listening to me on my evening tangent about people and how we got here and parts of our journey that you just stop and go, if I had asked, would I even be in this position? So if no one said it to you before, let me say it right now. You are allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to be curious, to want to know, to want to understand, because the answers, they are a part of your healing. They are a part of your identity, and they are a part of your legacy. So whether you're thinking about a parent, a grandparent, an auntie, a cousin, just ask while you can. And if no one's around to ask, then you could do what I did and start digging. Start documenting and start collecting the pieces and build the puzzle back. Because every family has a story, and every story deserves to be heard. Before I close out with you guys, I just want to leave you with your journaling prompt and your weekly challenge. And this is the question that I have for you all for your journaling. What is one question that I wish I asked someone in my family, and why does it matter to me? And the challenge for this week is to ask one person in your family one real question this week. Even if it's a small question, like, why did you name me this? And even if it feels awkward, open the door and see what unfolds.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode here on DCHP Lounge. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with a friend or family member who needs to hear it. Be sure to follow us and keep the conversation going on Instagram at the DCHP Lounge. And you can visit us online at dchppodcast.com for full show notes, resources, and any links that you've heard from today's guests or sponsors mentioned. Remember, healing, growth, and legacy building all start with one small step. Until next time.